This is the day when curtains will come down on campaigning for the 7-phase election of 2024. And I don't know about you, but I can't wait to get to the finishing line. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. The one finishing line that we have reached is with our special election series, The Dhavas of Democracy. Many of you would remember that this was a journey that began in Kanyakumari in southern India, in fact, the southernmost tip of India's mainland. And it made its way across the length and breadth of India. We reported from 12 different states, covered 12 countless constituencies, traveled 12,000 kilometers, and finally dropped anchor in Kashmir. This at a time when the debate continues as to who is ahead in the competition between Modi versus the opposition. Modi remains the dominant political force as a brand in the country, but the opposition has put up a spirited fight, leading to divergent narratives over whether the election has turned or whether it remains exactly poised as it was 7 phases ago. There's a lot to talk about. What did the voters indicate? Did they draw a kind of red line around issues that they don't care about? Did they amplify the issues that they care about? Our newsmaker today is Professor Sanjay Kumar. He's, of course, with the CSDS, and we've often seen and heard his insights through this election season. Sanjay ji, thank you. It's almost over, but it isn't over yet. Abhi exit polls hai aur phir actual counting hai. As we read the tea leaves with you, if I were to ask you 7 phases ago, agar hum yahi baat kar rahe hote, तो तब से और अब से, what is the main difference, if any, that you find?
In one line, Barkha, if we were having this conversation in the month of January, I would have said it's a boring election. We are heading for a very boring election. It's a completely one-sided election. Today, I would still believe that BJP has a massive edge over other rivals, but still I would say it is an interesting election. It has turned out to be an interesting election. And we must wait for the exit poll to come on the 1st. And certainly we need to wait for the 4th June when results will be announced.
So in a way, you're saying what seemed like a walkover has turned into a competition. And therefore, it certainly makes for more interesting viewing, more interesting reporting. But you still continue to argue that the BJP has a massive edge. बहुत से लोग कहते हैं, opposition वाले, उनके supporters, election has turned. Has the election turned?
No, election has turned in a sense, as I said, in the month of January, and I did say on a couple of occasions that this is heading for a very boring election. It is going to be a one-sided election. Now it has turned to such an extent that we are watching this election with keen interest. Everybody is looking at the contest in different constituencies. We'll see how contests are very different in different states. But when I say BJP has a massive edge over its rival, I'm just looking at the gap between number 1 and number 2. BJP is definitely going to be number 1. And in my opinion, Congress will be number 2. But the gap between the two parties, number 1 and number 2, both in terms of number of seats and the vote share, is going to be very large. So that is why I said still BJP has a huge lead over its nearest rival. And I'm just referring to the two parties. I'm not saying two Gathbandhans, the two parties.
You say that it is your sense that the BJP will still be the number 1 party and the Congress will be the number 2, but well behind the BJP. The opposition believes that it has managed to turn the competition in several critical states. And the states that they list are Maharashtra, Bihar, and in Uttar Pradesh also, the opposition argues that something is shifting, that the attempt by Akhilesh Yadav and Rahul Gandhi this time to forge a different kind of caste alliance, a different kind of social engineering experiment, is channeling responses and results on the ground. Why are you so sure that the BJP, and I'm not saying I disagree with your assessment, but I want to understand it from you. Why are you so sure that the BJP will be the number 1 party? What gives you that belief?
Barkha, you did mention about a few states. Like in a cricket team, when you want to have spinners, you have an off spinner, you also have a leg spinner. So some states have turned in favor of BJP and some states have turned against BJP. So you did mention a couple of states which seems to have turned against BJP, but there are a couple of states which seems to have favored BJP compared to 2019 election. So that is why the gains and the losses, if you calculate, finally we would get to know on the 4th of June. But at this moment, looking at the ground realities, looking at the field report, my own sense is that yes, there are states where BJP will lose or likely to lose compared to 2019 Lok Sabha election, but there are some states where BJP would make gains compared to 2019. That is why, and I don't see Congress making huge gains in a very large number of states. Yes, Congress will also gain in some states, Congress will lose in some states. But the gains and losses for the Congress is going to be very minimal. And the gains and the BJP, if I look at the gains and the losses, it's not going to be in the range where BJP can be pulled down below a very sizable number.
So there are two differing perspectives that have emerged, both from people in politics. One is Yogendra Yadav. We were all together on a program with him on the BBC just yesterday, Sanjay ji. And the other is Prashant Kishore. Dono hi, in their interviews to me, have very differing perspectives. Mr. Kishore says the BJP will be back with more or less the same numbers, but Mr. Modi's brand is in decline, and it's the opposition's failing to channel angst on the ground into a better result for themselves. Yogendra ji believes that while there is no wave against the Modi government, incremental and arithmetical decline in, aggregating the decline in multiple states can pull the BJP below the majority mark. If you were to make sense of both these differing perspectives with the caveat that both men are in politics in different ways, do you find yourself agreeing with one or the other more, or do you have a third take, which is your own?
I would like to take the middle path, not because I want to be safe, not because I like one person over the other, but I think, and both could be right, because we have seen in Indian electoral history that we have an electoral system which is first past the post system. Same vote share may not give you same kind of a electoral outcome in a sense in terms of seats. We have seen in the past that vote share goes up, your seats come down. Look at the BJP's vote share in 2009 Lok Sabha elections. BJP polled 18.6% votes, and BJP's number of seats was 160. If you look at the 2014 Lok Sabha elections, Congress vote share was higher compared to the BJP's vote share in 2009. So Congress polled 19.6% votes in 2014 Lok Sabha elections, ended up with only 44 seats. So same electoral system, same country, different elections. But if you look at the ratio of winning seats with similar number of votes, very, very different. So there is a possibility, hypothetically, if we assume that BJP gets 37-38% votes, this 38% votes can give BJP less than 250 seats or maybe about 250 seats. Same 38% votes can also give BJP 292 seats. There is a possibility that the BJP's votes, if it gets concentrated in a very large number of constituencies, they might lose a lot of seats. But if the vote is evenly spread with a similar vote, you could win large number of seats. I'm saying a very remote possibility that similar vote can give you two extreme seat shares. But there still is a possibility. My own sense is that BJP crossing 300 mark is a very tough task, very difficult. In my opinion, almost, I won't say use word impossible, but very unlikely. And BJP coming down below 250, 240 is also extremely unlikely.
But you have given two figures, right? You have said that the BJP crossing 300 is very tough, right?
Absolutely.
And you're also saying that the BJP coming down below 250 is also tough. That still leaves the space for the BJP to fall below 272, which is the majority mark.
My personal opinion is that BJP, despite sliding down, would finally be able to stand up, control, which is to say BJP will get a majority of its own. That's most likely scenario as I see today, which is maybe few days before the last phase of polling. So BJP is most likely to get a majority of its own. We never know. It could slip from the majority mark by 4 or 5 seats. It could get a majority mark, cross the majority mark by say 4 or 5 seats. most likely scenario, in my opinion, seems to be in the range of 276 to 82. That's the most likely scenario, in my opinion.
So say that again, because you have now given a specific number, which I think we must talk a little bit about. Most
No,
likely between
no,
range.
I'm not. No, I don't think that we should stick our neck out and start discussing the exact number. The big point I'm trying to say is that BJP, in my opinion, is very, very close to the majority mark. Safe, I can say that BJP is in the safe range of getting a majority mark or crossing the majority mark on its own.
Now, you are talking about crossing 300 being difficult. What you're looking at is a situation where you're talking about some decline for the BJP, but not enough to have a dramatically different outcome than what was expected in this election. Would that be a fair summary?
Uh, yes, the reason are very simple. I think if you look at the 2019 victory of BJP, BJP not only won 303 seats, but there are large number of constituencies, say 224, where BJP's vote share was very high, more than 50% plus. So yes, even if BJP's vote share decline in these constituencies, maybe BJP will not be in a position to lose a large number of seats of these 224 Lok Sabha seats. So that is why my own sense is, even if there is a decline, yes, BJP is slipping down, but even with that slip, BJP will be able to get a majority of its own.
But then, Sanjay ji, what has changed? Because are you then suggesting that if the opposition had not put up a spirited fight, and they have put up a spirited fight, these numbers could have been looking very different?
Yes, I don't disagree that opposition has put up a spirited fight. Look at the narrative, how the narrative of the campaign changed. And that's one indication how strongly the non-BJP parties, the opposition, contested this election. I was hoping that this election will be contested in the name of Ram Mandir. BJP will try to encash this issue of abolition of Article 370, but at least these two issues were not heard on the ground. And what was being talked about, even by the BJP leaders, though BJP leaders were trying to offer clarifications on that, this whole issue of Loktantra Bachao, Democracy Bachao, and Samvidhan Bachao ka chunav, and also that because the opposition kept claiming or campaigning that BJP is aiming to get 370 seats because with this majority, brute majority, it will be easier for them to change the constitution. And one big change they can bring about in the constitution is to abolish reservation. So this actually started percolating on the ground. People started discussing about that. People started becoming suspicious about BJP getting a huge majority. So I think then there was a situation in the second and the third round of polling that BJP had to offer explanations to that. Prime Minister Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah, and several BJP leaders started giving an explanation that no, there is no intention, there is no even thought of changing the constitution. Reservation will remain intact. So I think this is an indication how elections changed, and this is also an indication to suggest that BJP, the opposition, did not give up. They actually led a spirited fight.
And you are saying that ये जो पहले आपको esoteric सा concept लगा. In the beginning, you thought this is a highly theoretical concept of saving democracy. As the election went along, the opposition was successfully able to link it to the constitution, to affirmative action, Arakshan. And also, it was the self goal was a few rabble rouser BJP leaders actually saying that the reason we need 400 par is because we have to change the constitution. You're saying that this, and I found this in my travels also, this became a talking point. Zameen par.
No, this was certainly a talking point because the Congress and the opposition parties were able to connect the three things. One, Samvidhan. Second, democracy. BJP aiming to get 370 seats and reservation. So these three instruments they tried to put together, and it produced, I think, a good music, which was very dear to the people on the ground. So people started listening to that, and some sections of the voters also got convinced. So I think some sections of the voters who had not firmed up that they are likely to vote for BJP, they may have shifted their vote from BJP to the opposition, and that is why we saw a contest happening in the 2nd and 3rd round of polling. So I think this is an indication how elections changed, and this is also an indication to suggest that BJP is in a safe range of getting a majority of its own. in a very large number of states, and within the state in a large number of constituencies.
The opposition will believe that if it manages to pull the BJP down below the majority mark, and even if the BJP is 4 seats down below 272, let's say, given that the Prime Minister had given a Ab ki baar 400 par ka slogan, they will call this a kind of moral victory. Do you think that matters, or do you think Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar, after a cricket match, Prashant Kishore said it will be like a century with 6 dropped catches. The point is, Jo Jeeta, wo Jeeta. After that, does anybody care, or does it actually change the nature of politics, that aura around the Prime Minister, that he was invincible, the cult of Modi? If the BJP slips below majority, and it's a big if, you believe the BJP will most likely cross the majority mark. But if the BJP slips even a few seats below the majority, will that change anything?
No, I also agree that Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar. Finally, if you are able to form the government, even if you don't get a majority, suppose BJP doesn't get a majority, a possibility is there. But you form a government which is the NDA government. Maybe NDA also doesn't get a majority, a very remote possibility. And there are parties who are willing to join the NDA, and you form the government. So that's the win-win situation. I don't think that will change the narrative much. Yes, narrative in terms of opposition parties, some analysts will start saying, even writing articles, analytical articles, that BJP has lost election. And I'm saying two scenarios. I think even if BJP manages to get, say, 270, we would come up with the discussion like, or analysis like, BJP lost 100 seats because Prime Minister Modi has set a target of 370. But I don't think this is fair to, this would be fair to analyze that BJP lost election, moral defeat. Why moral defeat? Finally, winning victory is a victory. Yes, the target was very high. Prime Minister Modi and BJP can offer their explanation why they had set the big target. But winning election is winning election. I don't think that we should be comparing, at least I won't be willing to do that, that I would say that there is a moral defeat for BJP because the target was 370 and finally they ended up with 269 seats.
Especially since I think everybody recognized that target to be a rhetorical target.
Oh, yes. I think now, retrospectively, because I think there was no time, no moment in this electoral journey of 2024 election when BJP seemed so strong that they will be able to cross 350 or 370 mark. So I think the target was set. Prime Minister Modi mentioned 370 also to just keep reminding the people about abolition of Article 370. So it was kind of a metaphor to use that BJP is aiming to get 370 seats. So that keeps reminding people about the abolition of Article 370. So I'm not sure whether how confident Prime Minister Modi was that BJP will be able to get 370. But now I think at a couple of places, he has also offered some explanation that he trapped the opposition in when he mentioned that NDA is aiming for 400 seats, because the entire discussion in the media, you and me kept discussing that how come BJP can manage to get 370, and we kept saying nahi ho hi nahi sakta hai. And there was no discussion on can BJP cross 270 or not. So the entire focus of discussion in the media, academia, everywhere shifted from 272 to 370.
Let me ask you in the end, what are the states that you'll be looking, what are the states that are going to decide this election? And the interesting thing is the Prime Minister has said that he expects Bengal to be one of the best performances for the BJP. And Bengal mein takkar ki ladai hai, but last time bhi thi, right? So Bengal is important. Bihar, it's be very interesting to see if as an ally, Nitish Kumar weakens the NDA, pulls it down. Maharashtra, the split in two major parties, the opposition is hoping for good results. The BJP is hoping to make gains in Odisha, in Assam, in Telangana. So what are the states that you would look out for?
You have already mentioned a large number of states. I don't think there is one particular state we should be watching for, because large number of states there is an upheaval. When I say upheaval, in some state BJP is likely to go down, and those would be the state mostly in the north of India, because in most of those states BJP has backed in 2019 election, and in some state also in 2014. So the chances of BJP coming down is very high in states like Haryana, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Delhi, Maharashtra, Bihar, and few other states. But BJP has put in a lot of effort to make inroads in the southern state. So those states also needs to be watched. Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Andhra, they have formed a very good alliance in Andhra Pradesh. I think BJP would be kind of a gaining, piggyback on the TDP's popularity. We should not forget the two coastal states, West Bengal and Odisha. These are also the states which we should keep an eye on. An eye on for not. I'm not looking at BJP's decline in these two states. I am hoping that BJP will be improving its tally in both the states, West Bengal and Odisha. So a lot of states to watch for. We cannot say that these are not the states which should be of the interest for analysis or for discussion. Many states to watch for on the 1st as well as on the 4th of June.
Just a last question, from Uttar Pradesh in particular, which is politically very influential as to who forms the government. One phrase that comes up again and again is seat phasi hui hai. BJP shayad nikal le, lekin seat phasi hui hai. And ironically, this description is being used even for a seat like Ayodhya, which is, of course, where the Ram Mandir was built and the Prime Minister presided. Yeah.
No, I'm saying I won't be surprised if you didn't heard this for Banaras also, Varanasi.
एक तो सब कहते हैं, मजा भी आता है लोगों को कहने में, लेकिन आई थिंक व्हाट दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इज मार्जिन्स, जो आपने भी शुरू में कहा कि जहां पे मार्जिन्स बहुत बड़ी थी बीजेपी की जीत की, where the margins were very big, there is a chance that the fight in the system doesn't reflect in seats, but it reflects in vote share. Is that what you're expecting?
I think BJP also gets the advantage of a perception. Both things are right. One, yes, numerically BJP has been very strong in 2019, and the reason why people believe seat तो फंसी हुई है, मजबूत कांटे का मुकाबला है, समाजवादी पार्टी मजबूती से लड़ रही है, लेकिन बीजेपी सीट निकाल लेगी, because they also know that maybe the victory margin in 2019 in many of these seats was very big, and also the perception that finally BJP contest elections much better compared to the opposition, in a sense, election management. So that also gives BJP an advantage, the perception, because then you have a very tiny section of voters, maybe 2%, 3%, who finally might shift in favor of BJP because they don't want their vote to be wasted. So I think seat फंसी है, लेकिन BJP निकाल जाएगी. In UP, if you talk to people in UP, there are two extremes. People are also talking about BJP तो 35 के नीचे जा रही है. But I think very few people are not talking about BJP improving its tally in UP from going up from 62. So I think BJP is in for some dent in UP as well. What this sum includes, I don't know. Whether the some dent means whether it is 2 seats, 5 seats, 10 seats, or even 20 seats. I don't know at this moment.
Before we let you go, there's been a lot of debate over national versus local election. Did the opposition manage to localize this election? Question one. And combining that with some of the turnout details, the EC has published a lot of data. So we have constituency-wise data now. We know now that, for example, in 123 seats compared to, I think, 80 in 2019, the turnout was below 60%. Are you convinced that turnout has been a factor? And do you believe that this has been a more localized election than a national one? Or do you believe the Modi factor has still trumped the opposition's attempt to localize this election?
No, I think I believe that this was a more localized election compared to 2019. 2019 was a truly national election, a national mudda. The mudda was basically country becoming stronger. In a sense, it was held at the backdrop of Balakot air strike. So it was all about national security. The country become like strengthening the hands of Prime Minister Modi to make India much stronger. But in this election, I don't think there was any national issues which swept the entire country or even sizable number of states. So it was a more localized election, and that is why we keep saying it was not a national election. And I don't see any national wave. There was no wave in favor of BJP. There was no wave in favor of Modi. I'm not saying that there was an anti-Modi or anti-BJP wave. There was nothing of that kind. But since we find different trends in different states, the wave was missing. So it was a very local election. It will turn out to be, the national verdict would be kind of really an aggregate of the state verdict.
Well, it's going to be fascinating and only a few more days now. Thank you, Professor Sanjay Kumar. We'll definitely look forward to talking to you once we have exit polls and actual results with us. Now, just a few more days. Thank you, sir, and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of this special election edition. But do look out for all our election specials starting today, right through the 4th of June. Thank you for watching. See you soon.
We're at the Indian mainland's southernmost tip in Kanyakumari, the confluence of the Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean. It is from here that we're beginning our big road trip to the heart and the soul of India, Awaaz of Democracy. That's all about traveling thousands of kilometers to look at the food, the fun, the festivity, the flavors of this election, but also, of course, to tell the stories of you the people, of we the people. At Mojo Story, we have always gone to where the story is. It could be the battlefields of Israel and Gaza, it could be the conflict zone of Manipur, or it could be the sorrow and the tragedy of COVID. We think of all of you as members of our community, of our family. So, I'm urging you and requesting you today to help us tell your stories and our stories. So do become a Mojo member, support and power our storytelling, but also get first access to our big interviews, our special ground reports, our town halls, and also have the opportunity to ask our newsmakers questions directly, as well as get published on our platform. Become a Mojo member, click on the link below, and see you soon.